From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette. This is Idaho Matters. It's Friday, which means it's time for our Reporter Roundtable. We will get you updated on news that made headlines this week. Our panelists today, Logan Finney with Idaho Reports on Idaho Public Television, Sydney Kidd, reporter with Boise Dev, Logan Ramsey, reporter at eastidahonews.com, and Maxfield Silverson, editor of the Star News, who also happens to be a member of the Boise State Public Community Advisory Board. I want to welcome everybody to the show. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Gemma.
Yep, happy Friday.
Good to have everybody here. So Logan Finney, let's start with you. We've got some news that has actually made national headlines. I'm talking about the city of Boise deciding to make the pride flag an official flag of the city. So Logan, can we start with some background here? Take us back to the legislative session that recently wrapped up and how flags not only got on their agenda, but lawmakers ended up making a law regarding them.
This is true. Yes, they actually made two laws regarding them. One deals with schools specifically. The other one that we're talking about today deals with other government entities. So that's your cities, counties, etc. And a number of lawmakers are unhappy with particularly the city of Boise's choice to fly the LGBTQ pride flag in front of City Hall. A lot of lawmakers view this specific flag, as well as others with political messages, as being divisive, and they don't view it as the proper role of government to be highlighting some type of social issues and not others, or taking a stance on controversial things. And so the motivation that was voiced by the legislature was, if a government entity, your city or county, is going to be flying a flag, it should only be an official flag. The actual flag that we've all agreed on is an official representation of the city, and not something with controversy around it, like the pride flag, or kind of another example that some gave would be like a "Make America Great Again" Trump type flag. If people on the other side of the political spectrum would be upset if their city council decided to fly that. So that's gotten us to where we are today, where the city of Boise is still flying this pride flag.
Okay, so Logan, the city of Boise has been flying this pride flag, we should note, for more than a decade. And they did not take that flag down when this new law went into effect. So what did they end up doing instead?
That's right. Yeah, that gets us to what City Council has done most recently. So the text of the law about the flag protocol that has been set up says that cities are allowed to fly their, I believe the term is the official flag of the city. And so what Boise has now done is the mayor and then the city council affirmed they have declared the pride flag to be an official flag of the city, as well as the organ donor flag that they've been flying on that same pole as well. We spoke with Attorney General Raul Labrador on the show this week, and he doesn't think that fits the text of the law. He noted to us that the law says the official flag, not an official flag. So it remains to be seen if this creative lawmaking from the city will get them out of the controversy that they're in.
Well, so Logan, we should note, though, that Boise isn't the only city here in Idaho that added an official flag after this law went into effect. Talk to us about what the city of Bonners Ferry just did.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. Bonners Ferry is a small city up in the north end of the state. It's about 30 miles from the Canadian border. I grew up in Sandpoint, just another 30 miles away from the Canadian border, so it's kind of my backyard from where I grew up. And the relationship with Canada is a really important thing up there. The city of Bonners Ferry has a international visitor center right as you come south across the bridge over the Kootenai River, and they've got 3 flagpoles there at the visitor center with the U.S. flag, the Idaho flag, and the Canadian flag. Canadian flag is not an official American government flag. The law that the legislature passed says that they included a provision that says you can fly other countries' flags to commemorate special occasions. So there are particularly a number of of cities in southeastern Idaho that have like specific immigrant populations. They have like an annual festival to
Hmm.
celebrate their pioneer roots. And so some of those lawmakers wanted to make sure that they could fly like a flag from Germany or Poland or whatever during those particular celebrations that they have each year. So what Bonners Ferry has done is their city council has passed a resolution that declares 365 days a year are special occasions on which the city of Bonners
Oh.
Ferry celebrates its relationship with Canada, their neighbors to the north there. So again, some creative lawmaking from a city council. And yeah, Raul Labrador, the Attorney General, also told us he doesn't think that's quite kosher by the text of the law as well.
Okay, so Logan, I'm curious to know what's next because one Boise City Council member, the only person that dissented, suggested that the city will now get sued by the Attorney General. And I know you've got some sound from Attorney General Labrador. Can you tell us about this, and then we can play that clip?
Sure, yeah. So Bonner's Ferry hasn't been as controversial as Boise has been. Part of
Hmm.
that is a letter that Attorney General Labrador had sent to Mayor Lauren McLean about the issue. And in his interview that we just did this morning with our host of Idaho Reports on public television, Melissa Davlin, Attorney General Labrador talked a little bit about why he issued that letter in a public fashion because he wanted to also clear up some of the details in the law because his office was hearing a lot about that pride flag in front of City Hall. So if you guys have that clip ready to go, let's go ahead and play it.
Our office was being inundated with these calls. We, as you know, they were calling they wanted me to arrest her. They wanted me to take down the flag. Our office was constantly inundated. And that's why I wrote the letter. It wasn't just a message to her. I was also trying to send a message to the community. There was a lot of confusion about what the law said. There was a lot of confusion about whether law enforcement could get involved. They wanted the county sheriff to go arrest her. They wanted me to go arrest her. And it was creating so much confusion that I wanted the letter. That's why I sent it out publicly. I wanted it not just for her, but also for the public to understand that this was not a criminal statute. This is not a statute that you can use to arrest somebody. This was mostly a civil statute. It did not have civil penalties, which I think is unfortunate. But she shouldn't obey or disobey a law because it has or doesn't have civil penalties. She should obey or disobey the law. She should obey all laws, as she has made an oath. She took an oath as an elected mayor.
So, Logan, I'm so happy to hear that the Attorney General has sat down with your Melissa Davlin. It's important that our elected officials do this. Glad that this is happening. What else should we know about this upcoming interview? Because folks can watch it tonight, I'm assuming.
Yes, our episode airs at 8 p.m. on Idaho Public Television, your Idaho PBS station. We talk about pretty in depth on the flag issue with Attorney General Labrador. We also talk about several other issues his office is involved with, litigation having to do with mifepristone, the abortion pill. It's a really great conversation, and we get to a lot of topics with Attorney General Labrador. But yeah, this flag issue is one that is not going away, despite of or perhaps because of the action by a couple city councils in the last week. So we'll definitely be keeping tabs on this. I know several lawmakers are very vocally discussing ideas of what sort of penalties they could put in place to enforce this when they come back next year.
All right. Well, really appreciate that reporting on that, Logan. And remember, you can watch that interview with Attorney General Raul Labrador on your PBS station tonight. Max, let's switch gears and talk about fire season. It seems to be coming maybe a little bit early. Tell us about one fire near Yellow Pine.
Sure thing. Yeah, it seemed to be a bit early to me as well. There was a fire reported near Yellow Pine, kind of a couple miles to the west of it, up a creek. And on April 26th, no, the cause was not known. I only found out about this because I got a notification on the app Watch Duty, which is sort of a
Mm-hmm.
loose collection of there's fire news, but it's not an official source. So I figured I would look into
And,
it, and yeah.
and Max, the bigger issue here, though, isn't that this? I mean, this was about a 1 acre fire. But the bigger issue, and talk to us about this is how you were able to access information about this fire because or I guess not being able to access information about the fire because this could have big ramifications over the summer.
That's right. Yeah. I mentioned Watch Duty because it's such a great tool to kind of start knowing about a fire and get some information, but you really want to get that from the official source, which is the Forest Service most of the time for us. So I got the info, asked the Forest Service for confirmation. I think that was that same day, and then didn't hear back for a little while. Our local public information officers were told that they aren't allowed to respond to questions on a lot of things. So this information had to be run up the flagpole to the regional office, and that just takes a lot of time. For a half-acre fire in the middle of spring, that's not really a huge problem. But looking forward to the middle of summer when wildfires are rampant sometimes, and that's a main problem for a lot of people. It's going to be difficult, I think, to get information if that policy continues.
And then, as you said, could have really ramifications over the summer as not only are you trying to report on this, Max, but I would think if there needed to be any type of, evacuation notices, and a lot of times media, is the one letting people know about that.
Yeah, that's right. On bigger fires, they tend to have a public information team for each event, and they are really getting better and better about communicating directly with the public through social media, through us, through public meetings. But it's unclear how this policy would affect their ability to communicate as well. And you're right, there are evacuation orders, there's information about where the fire might go, upcoming weather, where the fire has been doing over the past week. It's a troubling thing to not be able to get that type of information.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate that update. Logan, you are currently working on a story out of Pocatello in regards to a $16 million grant being cut from the EPA. Can you tell us what you know so far about this? I know you haven't published the story yet, but you've been working on this diligently and definitely worth knowing more about.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have I've got the information mostly. I'm hoping to have a little bit more once this actually gets published. But what I know right now is that this $16.4 million grant in question, it originated from the Inflation Reduction Act, the EPA has they've canceled it. It was going to basically a lot of different improvements to the South Fifth Avenue corridor in Pocatello, which people outside of Pocatello won't really know a whole lot about. But I have just recently confirmed with the city that they are working to formally dispute this decision. This exact wording is they said that city officials are actively working to formally dispute determination of both awards. And both awards also referred to a $1 million forestry grant that the city was in the progress of using. And so I'm pretty familiar with the area that they are looking to add these improvements, including they want to turn it into a complete street with full sidewalks, with street lights and everything like that. I've been told that this is one of the areas that people are looking at as a next spot for development in Pocatello. I'm pretty familiar with the area, and it's to say that it's not easy to walk around and would be an understatement. Really, the only practical way to get around in this area is by vehicle, which can be a problem for if somebody has a problem with their vehicle or if they potentially can't afford one. There's plenty of bus stops in the area that people can get to, but it's a fast-moving road, so it's dangerous to walk along there without a sidewalk. Impossible for somebody in a wheelchair. But even more than that, they're hoping to add in this 6 mile trail that connects to the nearby lava rocks. That I think a lot of people would like to use and walk through. And I have also been able to get a comment from the EPA about it. The EPA, it's a really short comment, so I'll just read it. They said, as with any change in administration, the agency is reviewing each grant program to ensure it is an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars and to understand how those programs align with administration priorities. The agency determined that the application no longer supports administration priorities and the award has been canceled, which, is it's kind of like a vague non-answer, but I think it's pretty clear in that like this new administration that has been elected it's changed their priorities now. And we're not the only place that have experienced this.
So Logan, was the money already allocated and then they decided to take it back?
For the forestry grant that I mentioned, it was, and I've been told that it was in progress of, like they were in progress of like using the funds. But for this, for the much larger grant, the funding hadn't been allocated to them yet.
So Sydney, your Margaret Carmel recently wrote an article about some big changes coming to Southwest Boise, in particular Amity Road. Can you tell us about these plans from ACHD?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, as it stands, Amity Road is a two-lane road, one lane in each direction, and ACHD wants to widen that road and make it 3 lanes. So there would be still one lane in each direction, but there'd also be a center lane to help with turning. And then another thing that they're planning to add in is 10-foot multi-use pathways on either side of the road and a pedestrian hybrid beacon at one of the intersections. That would be at Riva Ridge to help move people across the road more safely.
So, Sydney, when do they expect to start this project?
That's a great question. So because it is, I mean, if you've ever driven on Amity Road, in that area, like some of the houses are right up against the road, right? So they are going to have to do some property acquisition. And so they're going to be
Gotcha.
starting, yeah. So they'll be starting that in 2028, 2027-ish. They'll start buying the property that they need and getting things prepared. And then according to their website, they want to start construction in 2029.
Okay, appreciate that update on that. Max, the plan to expand McCall's planning boundary for growth has been met with some criticism by Valley County commissioners. Can you begin by telling us what the city of McCall wants to do?
Yes, definitely. They've been tasked with presenting an updated area of impact map. And they've gone about that through a very methodological, like a whole study went into this to consider all the different implications of this new law that went into effect. And in drawing this new boundary, it kind of mirrors the old boundary. And I think what they want to do is really keep the impact area as a tool for growth and development, as a kind of a guide moving forward. So overall,
Max,
they
my
just
understanding.
have one. Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So overall,
No,
they want
just
to do what
overall, they
exactly?
want to have an area of impact that is meaningful in a way that would guide development right outside of city limits.
Okay, so my understanding though is this is what, the third time that city officials have met with the county about this, and so what exactly are they at odds over? Is it how it should look? Is it the code? What's going on here?
Yeah, that's right. It's the third time they've met about it as a joint meeting with both boards all together in one room. But it's the first time of those meetings when they've presented a map to really look at. And the city sees it as kind of a starting point. And the point that they're starting at is immediately at odds, with the commissioner's sort of reading of the law. And the point that really is of contention is, the laws states that the impact area should include land very likely to be annexed to the city within the next 5 years. And there are some challenges with that because there's just not the sewer capacity, which is one of the credential or things that needs to be done to annex here more land. And there's just not the capacity to get that done within the next 5 or 10 years.
So,
So it kind
Max,
of
what's next
hinges
then?
on, sorry, it just hinges on them figuring out if very likely is really a requirement of the law and what that means. It's a little
Ah,
subjective, but it is a difficult point to get past.
so then where do they go from here?
Well, it's hard to say. They kind of need to work that one out and look at it on the map if that is possible in all of these areas. There's also, about 5 considerations to look at for things that can be
Mhm.
in the impact area under this new law. And what I think they're going to do next, the next step is they will meet on, let's see, May 19th. Valley County Commissioners will meet on May 19th. This won't be another joint meeting, but I'm assuming the city will have some representatives there to
Mhm.
really evaluate that map, kind of parcel by parcel, I think, and decide what fits within the law and what doesn't. And the county commissioners are really the ones who make the decision here. McCall is involved in the conversation, but the decision rests at the county.
All right. Well, definitely not the end of this story, Max. Appreciate that update. Sydney, one developer has some pretty big dreams for the city of Cuna and a possible sports complex. Can you start off by telling us what this complex would look like and, frankly, how big it could be?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a developer that's trying to bring a youth sports complex to Cuna, and it would sit on about 114 acres of land. And
Okay.
there's going to be, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And I was going to say, so 114 acres of land. What all is this going to? Because I read your article. They're talking about hotels on this complex.
Yeah, yeah, there's so much. So the idea behind this was this developer had spent so much time traveling around to different sporting events with his kids on weekends, and so he wanted to bring
Mm.
a facility here. So it would be like 8 baseball fields that could be turned into different multi-purpose fields. Like at most, I think there'd be 16. Um, 2 hotels. You're absolutely right about that. And then there'd be also an indoor facility that would have basketball courts, a family center with like an arcade. He wants to have restaurants on this property. It's a big project.
How much would something like this cost to build?
It would cost about $120 million.
Oh, okay. So, where is the developer then in terms of having the millions of dollars needed to actually build this complex?
Yeah, so when I talked to him, he said that he is still working on getting donations and sponsorships for the property. He said that that's going to be the main way to fund this project would be through those donations and be through corporate sponsorships. He's also launched like a brick building campaign or a brick naming campaign, where if
Hmm.
somebody wants to donate some money to the facility, they can purchase a brick, kind of like, have you seen the bricks near the Basque Center in downtown Boise that have people's
Oh
names
yeah,
on
like
them?
right, the whole Boise Center when they did that a few years ago. Yeah, similar to that.
Yeah, exactly, just like that. So that he's launched a brick building campaign for this site as well.
Okay, and so they're planning on not only being able to do this, but having this completed maybe in 2027. Did I read that right?
Yeah, that's what the developer told me. That's his goal is he wants to
Hmm.
have it done in 2027. Um, it's a big project. We'll see where things go with it.
So, Max, the Secure Rural Schools payments have been distributed, but only about 25% of what schools and counties were supposed to get actually hit bank accounts. Can you begin by telling us what the Secure Rural Schools payment program is?
Yeah, sure. It's a federal legislation that was enacted in 2000, and it is meant to fund schools, search and rescue, kind of fire projects, and county roads in counties across the West. It's not just us in Valley County, it's not just Idaho, it's all Western states with a lot of federal land in it that doesn't collect a lot of taxes from property taxes because of that. And that money has become increasingly essential over the years.
Okay, so Max, if schools across our state, including where you are in Valley County, only receive 25% of what they were supposed to get, I am assuming that could be a real problem. What have you heard so far about this? Maybe from school administrators, city officials, anyone like that?
Yeah, it just means less services, less projects, less money to
Mm-hmm.
do what needs to be done. It's sort of the program has seemed so precarious for years because it needs to be reauthorized in Congress almost every year to keep it going. So our officials kind of know at this point that it's not guaranteed. It was not reauthorized in 2016, so we're kind of reliving the same situation that happened then. And
Mm-hmm.
people just kind of tend to plan ahead for that as a possibility. Let's see, the McCall Donnelly School District, for example, sets this money aside and then just kind of lets it build for a year or two or three at a time, and then uses it for big projects once it's there. So they don't necessarily need it for this specific program coming up this year, but long
Mm-hmm.
term, it is a major problem.
But Max, could all of the money that's supposed to be allocated to them, could they get that? But I guess the bigger question is, what about upcoming years? Like, what about next year? Do they have to wait and see if they'll get any money allocated in this program?
Yeah, it is a wait and see what happens scenario. It depends on Congress to get it done. Let's see. Idaho Senator Mike Crapo has introduced a bill that would fund it next year, but that really hasn't
Mm-hmm.
come to a vote yet. And there continues to be, squabbles in Congress as to how this is paid for. And even if it is reauthorized, it's still not nearly as much funding as it used to be. So in the 90s, the reason this was created in the first place is timber receipts used to be allocated to counties for these purposes.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting them roughly about $3 million per year in the 90s, which adjusted for inflation is about 6 million. So even the 1.3 million we were looking to receive in Valley County, it really doesn't compare to what type of funding used to come in.
Gotcha. Okay. Sydney, we just have about a couple of minutes left, and I want to get to a story that your Kara Jackson wrote about, because some big news for one of our area's James Beard nominees. This is a mono. So tell us about this new space, because they've reopened. They're located in Caldwell, but where are they now exactly?
Yeah, so they are still in Caldwell, down the street. Their new location is on Arthur Street.
And Sydney, this is a quite a bit bigger space, because they were in what used to be like an old bank building before they moved to this new space, correct?
Yeah, yes, so they were in that bank building. It is so much bigger. So take everything that you love about a mono and I guess kind of add to it. They're going to
Mm.
have private dining rooms. There's a mezcal room. They have a
Oh.
patio now that has barbacoa cooking pits. Um, and it's Kara toured it and sent back photos, and it's really quite a unique space that they have. And also two things that they're going to do soon, because they're still in their soft opening phase, but eventually they will have a speakeasy room that was actually a former speakeasy back in the days of
Oh.
Prohibition. Yeah, super cool. And they're going to have a taco window on the side of the building. Um, and they said they wanted to do that for people who don't have as much time to come in and sit down and have a full meal,
Mhm.
and also maybe provide a little cheaper option for people.
Well, so smart. I'm very excited about this. It was always hard to get a reservation, so maybe with a bigger space, it'll be easier to get in. Thank you both so much for taking time with us today. We've been speaking this afternoon with Logan Finney with Idaho Reports on Idaho Public Television, Sydney Kidd, reporter with Boise Dev, Logan Ramsey, a reporter at EastIdahoNews.com, and Max Silverson, editor of the Star News. And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.